Hello, my name is Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for November 22nd to November 18th of 2015. On November 22nd, we have the sun, denoted right here by this black circle with a dot in it. It's in the final degree of Scorpio and moves into Sagittarius later in the day. It's also in the 14th hexagram, and on the outside of the wheel, we have the chop mark for the 14, numbered from bottom to top. The 14 goes yang, 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 yin, yang. And then the 14th hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here, this is the 14th gate of power skills, possession in great measure, the accumulation and retention of power through skilled interaction, coupling grace with control. Located in the sacral center, in an individual energy path in the knowing circuit called the channel of the beat, a design of being the keeper of the keys that connects to this second gate of higher knowing, the receptivity as a primal base through which any response is determined, the root of action. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we've got the following activated gates on November 22nd. We have the sun in the 14th gate with the earth in the 8th gate and the north node in the 46th gate with the south node in the 25th gate. Mercury is in the 34th gate with Venus in the 48th gate and Mars in the 18th gate. Jupiter is in the 47th gate. Saturn is in the 9th gate. Uranus is retrograde in the 51st gate. Neptune is newly direct in the 37th gate, and Pluto is in the 38th gate. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And the neutrino forecast is really just a weather report. No matter what the weather, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Robert Who said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And we begin the week with one channel definition due to the transit field. With the south node in the 25 and Uranus in the 51, we've got the channel of initiation, a design of needing to be first until November 29th. So this is the last full week of this transit defining this channel, which has been with us now for 4.5 months. This channel definition might bring the experience of some type of a leap into the unknown. It's an individual channel that empowers through the courage to take a chance on something unknown and deal with the consequences afterwards. Obviously, following your strategy and authority will help you determine if this initiation is correct for you, or if faced with multiple possibilities to experience quantum shifts, which ones, if any, are correct for you. In the mundane world, we're likely to see people become more competitive, pushing the boundaries, getting outside of their comfort zones, which will be shocking to themselves and others as they feel the wonder of their own unique spirit. If you experience people acting unpredictable during this time period, recognize that it's a conditioning force that will eventually move on, but it could seem like folks are less in balance while experiencing this foreign energetic. With a defined ego center, for folks without a defined heart center, they may feel like they have something to prove or want to make improvements or make promises or commitments that are not correct for them. The defined G center could influence those without to obsess about where they're headed or where they might find love. And this is individual circuitry, which brings with it melancholy or blue feelings that are best used in some type of creative activity. We're going to be looking at the sun's ravishing line values daily, because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, when talking about these daily shifts of line values, he said, we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. If your strategy and authority doesn't lead you in that direction, you can always notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. November 22nd begins with the sun in the 6th line of the 14th hexagram, and the sun's exalted in the 14th, which is humility, wealth and power at its most exalted. Exalted, the enlightened recognition that material success is God's will. Spirituality is the key to acceptance and the source of power. And 6-line days, I like to think about 6-line days as being on the roof of the hexagram, and Ra talks about not getting stuck with your head in the clouds because you'll have something bump into your shins or your kneecaps because there's a lack of focus, because the 6th line is looking beyond. It's looking at what's coming next. But then later on the 22nd, the sun then moves out of the 14th hexagram and it joins Mercury in the 34th hexagram, and the Earth moves out of the 8th gate and hexagram, and it moves into the 20th gate and hexagram, which whenever the Sun Earth is in this combination, we have a channel definition. Let's just see what we can do to make this work. Oh, man. So, high-tech stuff, you know. All right, so that brings a defined sacral center and a defined throat center, as we have the channel of charisma due to the transit. And hopefully it'll all stay right there. So let's start with the Earth. We have the Earth in the 20th hexagram, and the gate of the now, contemplation, recognition, and awareness in the now transforms understanding into right action. This shift happens at 1:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the sun in the 34th gate of power, the power of the great. The power of the great, power is only great when its display or use serves the common good. And the sun in the first line of the 34 is the bully, the indiscriminate use of power, exalted, the less negative, the resort to power as a manifestation of frustration, the energy to display power as a response to frustration, detrimented, the comeuppance that the inevitable destiny, that is the inevitable destiny of the bully, the ever-present risk of retaliation to power displays. And obviously when we're starting a new hexagram, and so when we have the sun in the first, second, third lines, we're in the lower trigram, which is about being more absorbed in our own process, looking more inward, with the theme of the first line day being a fear or an anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study, not to act. It's a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day to deal with things you don't understand, can't make sense of, or don't know. And then also on the 22nd, Venus moves from the 48 to the 57. So putting a lot of emphasis here on the integration channels with these definitions, including the splenic center at this point. So we've got Venus in the 57th hexagram. Venus is very powerful, and although deeply misunderstood, according to Ra, it brings morality or natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us, and what disturbs you at a moral level. Your design and personality Venuses tell us about the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life, and that if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution. In the 57th gate, Venus is in the gate of intuitive insight, the gentle, the extraordinary power of clarity. Venus is in the first line of the 57, which is confusion, exalted, the gift of penetrating to the inner meaning that ensures timely action, the possibility of intuition penetrating to the inner meaning. Detrimented, where feelings are no substitute for clarity and can lead to indecision, the possibility that confusion will overpower the intuition. And with the Sun-Earth axis in the 3420, we've got the channel of charisma until November 28th. This will influence us to become busier in the now, where things we think about become the experiences that we're having. Expect folks to be deeply involved in their daily activities, perhaps unaware of the expectations of others. People are not likely to even notice how busy they are, with the possibility of erupting spontaneously without an awareness of why. They tend to be in their own little world, out of sight, out of mind, with the Sun in the 34th hexagram and Venus in the 57. We've got the channel of power, which is the design of an archetype, which will be with us until November 27th. This channel brings an attunement to the body to have an accurate early warning system to anything in the immediate environment. Folks with this channel have intuitive awareness through the power of their sacral response. This may affect folks to feel more on guard, alert to any dangers in the moment. This is an animal instinct to engage in battle or jump out of the way with a split-second response from the attunement to sound and vibration. People will be more in tune to what's being said from the tone of the voice of the speaker rather than just the words spoken. Sometimes this can be experienced as a coolness by others, but this individual channel of survival represents the archetype of what it is to be human. And then with the Earth in the 20th gate and Venus in the 57, we've got the channel of the brainwave until the 27th. Being a projected channel, it needs an invitation to be shared. So if during this time period you see the truth, it doesn't mean that you're here to share it. This brings a very sharp intuition connected to the throat that moves so fast that the brain cannot understand it until afterwards. It brings intuitive adaptation to ensure survival in those who have this in their rave charts. Folks may find that they can intuit answers that bring wisdom if they can release their fear of the unknown. But if they blurt out their epiphanies without an invitation, they're likely to find misunderstanding and resistance. So we've got a defined splenic center, in which brings intuition and well-being. And Ra warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. The sacral definition can influence non-generator types in feeling busy and having the endurance to work. Obviously, don't get used to it. They may also think that they know when enough is enough, which could lead to the premature or abrupt end to something that really needs more time. And then the defined throat center can influence those without to talk about what they know in the now to attract attention. Again, this is also individual circuitry. So again, feelings of melancholy or blue feelings are likely, which should be used for some type of creative activity. On the 23rd, the Sun then moves into the second line. So it leaves the investigator line, moving into the hermit line of the 34 hexagram at 11:39 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Sun is detrimented in the 34 too, due to Venus being in the 57, and is described as momentum. Detrimented, a tendency to be emotionally carried away by the smell of victory, the power for growth limited by impatience. And second line days, everybody's waiting for something. They're waiting to be called, particularly called for their natural talents. Lower trigram, everyone's stuck in their own trip. It's not really a great day to have a party or a big social event, because really no one's going to want to come under that influence of the hermit. And then on the 24th, the Sun then moves into the third line, leaving the hermit line, moving into the martyr line of the 34 at 9:55 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 34-3 is machismo, the indiscriminate display of power, exalted, where machismo, unfortunately, is invariably backed up by power. This is an exaltation only in that it's natural and not contrived. The display of power that defines any role. Detriment, a reasoned and calculated display. The communication of disinformation, the calculated display of power in order to define a role. Third line days, the line of the martyr. We're talking about trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. Things bump into us under that third line, energetic. So be careful on the roads, be careful of swinging doors. This is a day where we might have bonds made and broken. They might experience a trial and error, in our activities. It's a good material day. It's a good day to do business and work on the material plane. But you have to be careful because things can go wrong. But ultimately, those things may lead to some type of discovery. And then also on the 24th, Mercury moves from the 34, leaving behind the Sun, and moves into the 9 where it's joining Saturn. Mercury is the messenger of the gods, so this is communication and expansion of human consciousness, not just as words, but also through music, according to Ra. What do we need to communicate in life? Well, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. And what might be communicated with Mercury in the 9? We might hear people talking about details and determination. This is the gate of focus, the taming power of the small, a potential that can be fulfilled through detailed attention to pertinent aspects. And with Mercury in the first line of the 9, this is the line of sensibility, a balanced and responsible approach to problem solving. Exalted, the ability to avoid frustration through the creation of new forms, the power in focusing to create new forms. Detrimented, after a hasty and frustrating search, the urge to kick in the door when the keys are in your pocket, the power to generate that which will lose its focus. And then on the 25th, the Sun then moves up into the 4th line. So we're leaving the lower trigram and moving from the martyr into the opportunist line of the 34. The shift happening at 8:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Sun in the 34-4 is described as triumph, the freedom in absolute victory to unlimited use of power. Exalted, a tendency in victory to retain excessive power in favor of more subtle and covert styles. The inherent confidence to use power subtly. Detrimented, ego gratification in unrestrained use of power with impunity, inevitably leading to abuse. The lack of confidence that can lead to the abuse of power. And 4th line days change from the lower trigram, where we're looking more inward, to the upper trigram, where we're looking more outward, from personal to transpersonal, with the themes of friendship, companionship, networking. 4th line days are great for social interaction. On the 26th, the Sun then moves into the 5th line of the 34. At 6:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Sun in the 34-5 is described as annihilation, the total elimination of resistance. Exalted, a power to destroy completely, and once this is accomplished, the ability to transfer the power to normal processes. The resistance to release power other than when necessary. Detriment, a difficulty in shedding the patterns established to deal with resistance, to discomfort with the need to always release power. And 5th line days are about projection, and the projection always goes positive, then negative. Positive, they could do it, they're the perfect person from it, things of that nature. And then if the person doesn't do it, can't do it, doesn't want to do it, for whatever reason, they don't meet that expectation, then the projection turns negative. The person gets punished. The heretic gets tied to the stake. So we're talking about a day of suspicion, but also of universalization, where something can leak out like a virus, or like a YouTube video or a Facebook post that gets that goes viral. There's people talk about paranoia being associated with the fifth line day, which impacts the nature of relationships. Seduction also being a theme for a fifth line day. As I've said before, if they are projecting on you and you're not meeting their expectation and they're out to punish you, then it's not paranoia, then is it? And then on the 27th, the sun then moves into the sixth line of the 34th hexagram at 4:41 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun is exalted in the 34/6 due to the Earth being in the 20th gate. And this is common sense, knowing when enough is enough. Exalted the good sense of when having bitten off more than one can chew, to spit part of it out. The restriction of the release of power when one does not have the strength to maintain it. And it's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around you, because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment. Like a third line day, there can be certain dangers. Not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming, because here we are, the sixth line, we're on the roof of the hexagram, like being on the roof of a building. It's looking beyond. It's what else is in the neighborhood, what's down the road, what's on the horizon, things of that nature. And then we also have on the 27th, Mercury leaving the 9 and leaving Saturn behind, and it moves into the 5. And then also we have Venus moving out of the 57, and it moves to the 32nd gate, meaning that we no longer have the splenic center defined. And so, we've talked about Mercury being about communication. What might be communicated when Mercury is in the 5? Well, maybe being in the flow with the rhythm of life. This is the gate of fixed rhythms, waiting, the fundamental attunement to natural rhythms. Waiting is an active state of awareness. And Mercury in the first line of the fifth gate is perseverance. If the captain must, he goes down with the ship. Exalted courage in the face of adversity, the power to maintain one's own rhythm. Detrimented, the premature and often disastrous urge to cut one's losses. Weakness in maintaining one's rhythm when challenged. And then also on the 27th, we've got Venus moving from the 57 to the 32. And we've talked about Venus being about, morals or values, things of that. So in the 32nd, Venus is in the gate of continuity, duration. The only thing that endures is change. And in the first gate of the 32, Venus is in the line of conversation. Exalted a life-sustaining respect and attention to all aspects of a process. The potential to develop the instinct through detailed attention to the process. Detrimented, the uncontrollable urge to bypass essentials, which inevitably leads to the disruption of continuity, the fear of lack of potential, and the corresponding lack of attention. On the 28th, the sun then moves from the 34 to the 9, where it's joining Saturn. And with that, we have the Earth moving out of the 20 to the 16. I'm going to keep that center up there because we also have Mars moving out of the 18 to the 48, bringing us another channel definition. So I'll put this back here. So we've got the Earth in the gate of skills, enthusiasm, the great art of enriching life by harmonic channeling of energy. And this shift happens at 2:55 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and with the Sun in the ninth gate of focus, the taming power of the small, the potential to be fulfilled through detailed attention to all pertinent aspects. And the Sun is in the first line of the nine, which is sensibility, a balanced and responsible approach to problem solving, exalted, the ability to avoid frustration through the creation of new forms, the power in focusing to create new forms, detrimented after hasty, frustrating search, the urge to kick in the door when the key is in your pocket, the power to generate that will lose its focus. And again, we're in a new hexagram, so lower trigram, first, second, third lines being about more of an inward process, a personal process, where people are more looking at what's happening with them, and with the first line themes of an anxiety or fear needing to be investigated, so a good day for research and things like that. And again, as we just mentioned, Mars moves from the 18 to the 48. So Mars is in the gate of depth, the well, the necessary and qualitative foundation that is a prerequisite to establish the common good. Mars is detrimented in the first line of the 48, which is insignificant. Detrimented, an ego tendency to apply energy to trivial considerations, a taste for trivia. And Ross spoke about Mars being an extraordinary and immature energy resource that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts. Mars represents the warrior archetype, and by following our strategy and authority, we slowly refine the energy of our design and personality Mars from immaturity to wisdom. And with the Earth in the 16 and Mars in the 48, we have the channel of the wavelength, the design of talent, until December 3rd. This is a collective logic channel, which for those folks who have this channel is about reaching some level of mastery through practice. This channel is about caring skills. But given the short time period that we have this channel defined by the program, it's hard to consider how it will condition folks. But we might see folks engaging in some type of repetition of some type of creativity to make gradual improvement. Collective logic creativity is different than individual creativity in that it is a creativity that's earned through hard work and commitment that is shared with the collective, whereas individual creativity is about empowerment in the now. Again, defined splenic center, we're talking about intuition and well-being being available from from the transit field. Of course, Ra did warn that this definition may influence folks without a defined splenic center to let go of something that is good for them. And the defined throat could also influence folks to talk about what they experiment with in order to attract attention. So no matter what the energies that are conditioning you during the week, just remember this experience is about being a passenger, riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. Enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day is a blessing, no matter what dramas beckon to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of a lifetime on this world stage. Just take some time to observe the play as well as act your part by remembering that you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on November 29th, 2015, should be available on the 28th, when we will continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube, and I encourage you to share this information as text or videos as widely as you choose, and invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or you wish to schedule a reading. If you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. Contacting me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com is the way to get instructions on how to make a donation. Or as I've said before, get a reading. The readings I offer are reasonably priced. There are several different options, and they tend to be pretty long, 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours, in order to get you the details that you need to understand what's happening in your life and how you're designed to make those decisions to navigate those experiences. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. All my best, and look forward to connecting with you in the future.